My woke folk, the National Black Agenda, Black Politics, Part 1. Let's talk about it. The absence of hardship does not equal happiness. The absence of hardship does not equal happiness. Again, the absence of hardship does not equal happiness. Welcome, my woke folk. I am Pharaoh, and this is my podcast, Stay Woke, the National Black Agenda, Black Politics. This is based or inspired on a contract with Black America from Ice Cube. He actually presented this proposal to Trump and to Biden during the 2020 election. We're 2 years into it. I thought it was an amazing blueprint to be able to outline how in geographic regions we have pockets of African Americans. If we had a national agenda independent of politics, independent of the people that's driving it, we could then ask for what we need. What I feel we're missing is a collective message. We have Black Lives Matter, we have NAACP, we have Color of Change, but there's no cohesive message. What's happening in the South, not necessarily what happens in the East or the coastal areas. The southern areas, which a lot of our slavery and history came from, is where a lot of African Americans reside, but it's also where a lot of the policies are still archaic, where they still have a lot of discrimination. And those areas keeping us divided doesn't allow us to have a cohesive message across the nation. So I'm proposing a national Black agenda. So 3 areas I want to discuss. Right? Reconstruction, the period from 1865 to 1877. And in his contract with Black America, he has Neo-Reconstruction. And under Neo-Reconstruction, he talks about reparations and voting. So we'll end with that, right? All good. So I thought it was vitally important to assemble a cast of individuals, future representatives, to have a vital discussion, because this is just my opinion, right? And I think collectively we can come up with at least ideas, and hopefully out of this we'll come up with a national Black agenda or a plan, or someone will catch on to it and say, hey, I watched Stay Woke podcast and I saw these people put together a cohesive argument for why we need a continuous plan. Yeah? So let's jump right into it. And I feel completely honored to have an amazing group of assembled individuals that is going to help me dialogue this out. So let's get into the discussion with each of those, right? So first we have Brooke Moore White, born and raised in Los Angeles, California, King Drew Magnet High School of Medicine and School's first African-American Studies instructor, and recently became the Medicine and Science Career Program instructor. Let's give it up for Brooke Moore White. Thank you, guys.
Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Next, we have born and raised in Los Angeles, and he attends the Los Angeles Film School. Let's give it up for our brother Christopher Hoskins. Chris, thank you very much for joining us, sir. Thank you. Next, we have Indigo Burris Albans. Albans, correct me. I told you to straighten me out, right? Born and raised in Oakland, California. It's 4th year in political science, Spanish linguistics at major at UCLA. Let's give it up for Indigo. Thank you so much for joining us today. And certainly last but not least, we have Solia Tolden, born and raised in Oakland, California. She's also the executive producer of the podcast. Not only that, she's my executive administrator for Human Ties Home Healthcare Services and Coast to Coast Consulting. Ballin'. Let's give it up for Leah Tolden. Solia Tolden. Thank you very much. Awesome, you guys. So, in introducing us, I'd like to first start off, because me and you guys, well, you know each other, but everyone doesn't have it. So it's this game I used to play when I was in elementary school. And what it demonstrates is our interconnectedness, how we as a people, how we as a race, how we as a society are connected. So what I'm going to ask of each of you is that I'm going to hold on to the first part of the string, and I'm going to answer 3 questions, and I'm going to throw it to someone in the room or on the panel. You have to catch it, keep a hold of the string, and answer the 3 questions. And then you have to throw it to the next person, and they have to catch it, You have to hold onto the string, and you have to answer 3 questions until we finish everyone. We all good?
Got you.
Right. I'll repeat the questions for you just in case you don't know, but make sure you hold onto the string. So she called it ball of string game, but I want to call it more like interconnectedness, interdependentness, right? How we are all weaved together in our country, how we all weave together in mission, how we all weave together in purpose, how we are all interdependent on each other, right? So I'll start it off. So 3 questions. 1, why or is Black politics important to you? 2, do you think we deserve reparations? 3, are you registered to vote? And why did you choose your political party? So I guess I'll start off. Hell yeah, I think Black politics is important. Not only Black politics in general, but the reason why I say for us, brought over to this country, I think to be integrated completely into the system. Our policies and procedures are made based upon our politics. And if we want to make a change, we have to be involved. So I think it's vitally important in that way. I do think we deserve reparations, specifically when we were freed, the Emancipation Proclamation, just at least in my opinion. I'm going off just a Special Order number 15, Special Field Order, which said that we were supposed to get that 40 acres and a mule. I want to start there. And that part was rolled back later on. We never got that generationally. And I do believe real estate and that wealth is how you truly build generational wealth here in the country. So hell yeah, we deserve reparations. Are you registered to vote, and why do you choose your political party? This is a really good question. I am registered to vote, but I'm registered as an independent, and I actually converted from a Democrat to an independent. Now, I was Democrat only because generationally my family was Democrat, the people that I knew were Democrat, and I believed they had the social issues that I wanted to champion. I became independent because not all that was true. So who gets my vote is someone who gives policy that really helps the people, someone who produces, reform that changes the landscape of how people integrate and equalize the playing field out. So you have to work for my vote. So yes, that are my 3 questions. And since Indigo was giving me the dead eye over there, I'm throwing it to her first. Right.
Ooh,
all right.
Almost.
Sorry, I didn't give you a good throw. It's my fault. I take the blame for that, right? Baseball's not my thing. But why are Black politics important to you?
I feel like there's not really representation in our country's politics for the Black ideology generally, but also just our issues aren't really prioritized. Like often I feel that things are we're breadcrumbed things, and it's often older wrinkly white men who are deciding what we need or what we should have or what's sufficient. And to have people who have experienced what we've experienced, which is such a unique generational and also just collective trauma, we need people who know what we're talking about
Agreed.
To represent us. So I think for that reason, Black
Awesome.
politics is really important.
Do you think we deserve reparations?
Absolutely. I mean, we labored for free. I mean, not even just the labor, but we were literally kidnapped from a country, not even a country, but a continent for
Right.
hundreds of years, and we're killed, and all of the trauma that we've experienced, and then on top of it to be enslaved for free. There's no way that we don't have a right to the country that we built and the wealth that we've established for this country, especially as we talk about housing wealth and generational wealth coming from property.
Sure.
We really don't have that established as a community, and it's necessary for us to have real infrastructure for ourselves.
Talk your shit. I ain't mad. Okay. Are you registered to vote, and why did you choose your political party?
I am registered to vote. I chose my political party because I want to be able to vote for.
What is your political party?
I'm a Democrat.
You're a Democrat, okay.
I'm a Democrat.
Okay.
But because you can't vote for the nominees unless you are affiliated with the political party,
Okay.
I felt that it was really important for me to be registered as a Democrat,
Okay.
so that I have more influence as
On your
much
candidate.
as I can
On
the candidate, rather than
okay.
just choosing between who's been given to me.
Okay.
At least I have
Okay.
I feel some sort of agency in making the impact of who's nominated.
That's funny because me as an independent, I want to fight it out first, right? And then whoever comes out, right? And then I'm going to choose the top candidate from whoever, switch it out. But thank you. Okay, who do you want to throw it to?
I'll I'll toss it to
Make sure you hold on.
I know. I'm trying to like, prepare myself. Oh God.
Much better throw than I. All right. Right. I got you.
I flinched way too hard. As if this is gonna hurt.
You gotta catch it.
Okay, go ahead.
Right. Okay.
So Leah, first question to you. Why are Black politics important to you, or are they?
Definitely. They definitely are important to me. I feel like Black politics and politics alone is kind of a different thing just because the Black community is not represented in the right way as it should. Like politics, like the whole system isn't made for us. And I feel like Black politics is a whole...
What about the Constitution? That didn't really include us?
No, I mean, it's just, in some parts, I feel like we are included, but like just not in the right ways. I feel like Black politics is its own, like, it needs to be talked about more. It needs to be just as, like, it's kind of sad that it's its own category because it should just be like we're included in all together.
Agreed.
Politics should be politics, but, you know, it is what it is. So it's definitely important.
Awesome. Do you think we deserve reparations?
Yes, for
You want
sure.
that bag, huh?
Yes, and I think it
Run me my
definitely
money.
need a bag, and it's long overdue. Like, it's kind of ridiculous that, like, I feel like this should have been happened a
Okay.
long time ago, and I think definitely we deserve reparations for
Awesome.
sure.
Are you registered to vote, and why do you choose your political party?
I am registered to vote. I'm a Democrat, and the reason I chose my political party is because, in all honesty, politics is like something I'm not used to. I'm very new to it. I'm learning a lot about it. And growing up, my family kind of just, I have this idea in my head that Democrats are the good guys and Republicans are the bad guys. So that's a true honesty. Like growing up, when I registered to vote, like, you know, my parents, like, you know, be a Democrat, like good guys, you know, don't be a Republican, bad guys. So yes, that is why I'm a Democrat.
Very good. Who do you want to throw the ball to?
Let's make it interesting. Throw it that way.
Okay.
I think we throw it this way.
Make sure you hold on to the string.
Okay, ready?
Definitely.
Good catch. Am I the only one that sucks at throwing? I mean,
She underhanded.
Chris, how you doing, sir?
Pretty good.
Thank you very much for showing up. I appreciate you. Why are Black politics, or are Black politics important to you?
Politics are important if they're made to like do what they're supposed to do. Like I don't think like politics right now is just like a big show and like everybody's just trying to get either paid from it or they're not really, they just want to get elected. But if they're actually like doing what they say they're gonna do, then I think that politics are very important.
Agreed.
But if they're just gonna just string us along,
No pun intended, right?
then nah, it's not really important to me.
Okay. Do you think we deserve reparations?
Definitely.
Talk to me.
So they gave the Japanese reparations for way less. It's like you know we struggled much. I'm not saying ours is worse or anything, but if they're gonna do it one way, they should be able to do it another way.
Or at least us first, right? I mean, no, am I being okay? I'm being selfish. Fine. Yeah. Are you registered to vote, and why did you choose your political party?
So I am registered to vote. I
Yeah.
registered as independent.
Yeah.
I was a Democrat, but you know I switched to independent.
No, I'm not advocating
So, like,
that. Sorry.
You said earlier you want to see them duke it out.
Yeah.
I just want to keep my options open. I don't want to.
Okay.
I
That's
don't
fair.
want to go which way. Just keep my options open.
All right. Agreed. All right, Chris, I guess we got one and only last person, but not least, we're going to throw the ball. So make sure you hold on to the string, sir. Let's tighten it up. Let's tighten our connection together, too. All right. Let's tighten that connection
It's like
up.
a fishing line. You gotta
tighten that
get- you gotta
connection.
give
Tighten
them
your
up.
connection up with. There we go, bro. Okay. Brooke,
All right, get my string. All right, we
String,
good
string,
now? We good?
a tangle web we weave, right?
Yeah.
Why are Black politics or politics important to you?
Man, being a historian and loving history the way I do, you said
Right.
Reconstruction, so immediately my brain was like, Harem Rebels. Like,
Right.
this man was a slave and he fought so hard to become a senator, like immediately after slavery ended. Just seeing the generations of Black people that have fought, that have died, just for their right to be seen as a human, their right to vote, their right to exist. I think that's why it's so important, just to stake your claim. And then, we just saw what happened with Nuri Martinez,
Right.
a few days ago with the LA City Council.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically saying like, you know, I'm not with that person because they with the black people. So
Right.
that tells you right there
Right.
that we are a force, that we need to continue being a force. And if we don't, we're going to lose out on more and more and more as the city changes more and more and more.
I'm gonna bring. That's a really good point, and we're gonna talk about that a little later on.
Sure,
Got you. Do you think we deserve reparations?
Absolutely.
And why?
Absolutely.
I just want that bag.
Like, I mean, everyone in here said some like really amazing things, and
Okay.
I'm like, yes,
Yes.
and absolutely, you know.
I'm with it.
Absolutely, we built this country. We've been systematically abused by this country since we've been quote unquote freed.
Right.
And looking at the white-black wealth gap, that alone is alarming. And we have to do something. They have to do something about that. Like, I know we deserve reparations, so I hope
Okay.
that we get them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Are you registered to vote, and why did you choose your political party?
I am registered to vote. I do not have a political party.
Okay.
My response to this is a bit complex because I have a
Okay.
different kind of interaction with
Talk to us.
politics. I've actually been a political candidate.
Uh-huh.
I remember city council when I was 21 in college, 21,
Okay.
22. That was about 10 years ago. And just kind of going through that process, it was very traumatic, very horrible. And it just kind of turned me completely away from politics for a few years. So when I came back into it, I was like, what am I doing? Am I going to just go with the historical, my grandma loves Democrats because JFK did nice things for
Right,
him?
yeah.
Or am I going to kind of go my own different way? And I just said, well, I want to pick a candidate or candidates that are actually doing things, that are saying
Okay.
things. I'm not Republican. I don't want to vote that way all the time. But sometimes I have actually
Right.
voted for a Republican candidate that wasn't a Trumpican. You know, wasn't acting
right.
like Trump style and yelling and cursing. But it was like, man, your policy actually makes some good
Policy,
sense.
right?
Yeah,
Policy.
policy.
Talk to me.
But in general, I did. Even though I declined the state, I still lean more towards Democratic voting, just
Okay.
because you kind of have to if you're black in LA.
Right.
you
Let's
know?
do it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Awesome. Let's give us up a round of applause. Yeah. So I guess we
Do I
can
let-
get the tangle where we read. You can just
drop it.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I really appreciate that, you guys, and I think this is kind of my icebreaker to get us going on the dialogue. So thank you for sharing a little about your personal, interests. I know it's always a touchy subject when you're speaking or talking about politics. People tend to shy away from that, but I think this is the type of discussion that needs to be had. It's an absolute must, and I don't think we do that enough amongst us. Independent of what side you're on, let's dialogue about the space and where we are, all right? I want to play this next part called Black Jeopardy. Now, this game I want to do, and I'm going to divide up in teams. So I'm going to have Indigo, and I'm going to have Chris on one team, and I'm going to have Solia and Brooke on one team. And I'll be the arbiter. So I'll ask each of you. I'll ask you one question. You have, whoever hits the buzzer first, you'll have 30 seconds to
get this buzzer
answer.
ready.
And I will actually keep score here.
I apologize in
I'll have to keep
advance,
score
Indigo.
here with our great scorekeeper here, right? But it's really going to deal with Reconstruction. It's that phase I'm sure you guys are well aware. If not, I think right or wrong, answering the questions is not really important. What's vitally important is that the information gets out, right? That we are able to learn something from there and to test your knowledge a little bit. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Black Jeopardy, let's go.
Gosh, okay.
All right. All right. Turn your buzz around so we can see your.
Oh.
Yeah. So
There we
can,
go.
There you go. You all right? All right. All right. Teams, you'll have 30 seconds to confer. If you are the person that our team that presses the button right, we'll use the producers to break any ties just in case. I have a little squabble on here who got the answer first. All right. You ready to jump in? You guys ready to go? All right.
I got you.
Okay, little sidebar over here.
We gotta,
Already right.
little
Gotta
prep
get
talk.
that. That mental thing, y'all got this right. All right, ready? Let's go. All right. What was the two purposes of Reconstruction?
As it pertains to
You get no clarifying statement. What are the two purposes of Reconstruction?
They don't teach that one in school.
I know. I froze up.
Damn,
Anyone?
like, I thought I knew
Anyone?
something. I'm
Anyone?
like, shit.
Anyone?
I was ready.
5,
until
Yeah, I
I was
was like-
not.
4, 3, 2. Okay, talk to me.
I'll say the two purposes for Reconstruction was to build a better infrastructure for the country as it was being built and rebuilt. And the second one was to break down the wealth gap between the races.
Kinda. No, I have to say no.
You went crazy.
Okay, that kinda. Okay, that's a no for that one.
No?
I-
No, that was just
Are we giving
another
a 1
X.
point? No. Okay, so it's a 5-point question. So so we'll
we
give
get-
you
we 2.5?
1 point. You
2.5?
got it. So the two purposes of Reconstruction: one is to reintegrate the Southern states that had seceded, and the second one was to integrate the 4 million newly free blacks.
Well, that's why I said as it pertains.
I know that's why you got. That's why you got one. That's why you kind of got one. All right, so we'll give. Are you guys the blue team or red?
It doesn't matter.
And also,
think
like,
we-
is
Go
it
ahead.
possible when they get it wrong, part of it wrong, can I answer the other part or no? Because I was like,
You know what? You're right.
because I was trying, I was.
You should
going-
get a chance to steal.
That's what I'm saying.
but-
Okay,
And
okay.
I did the
She
buzzer and
did.
everything.
She did.
All right, so
Like,
you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go to the next question.
Next question.
Right? Right. Now that we reinvented the rules.
That was
over
just a
here.
test. That was just
That was
a
just a
All
test.
right,
I just
all
wanted
right,
to-
all right, all right, all right.
Fight for yourself. Y'all ain't mad. Right. Like, you trying to steal my game up here. But there are prizes at the end. Oh, I didn't tell you guys that. Yeah, we have prizes at the end.
Like financial ones?
Financial
Like
one.
reparations?
Financial one. Like, I can't say reparations. So you running me that bag right now?
You're like, you got reparations behind that door.
I don't know the answer.
You know what I mean? Okay. So what ended Reconstruction? Okay.
The election of Rutherford B. Hayes, basically, he had to agree that he was going to stop all of the shenanigans that he was doing with the freed black people in order for the Southern Democrats to vote for him.
Correct.
Nice.
That's one thing. Let's give it up for the red team. Very nice, guys. Oh, blue team is like, nah.
I know, we didn't get applause.
I had to give it up. It was a great answer. It was a great
All right.
answer.
Next question. What 3 amendments were passed during Reconstruction to help Africa? Okay.
13, 14, 15.
Yeah, bingo. There we go. That's another one. Oh, I'm sorry,
got
Blue.
you.
Did we give
That's
y'all?
like-
I'm sorry.
I knew that one.
Sorry.
I was
Sorry. I had to take.
unhappy.
I had to take one of y'all points away.
Take one of our points?
Yeah, because we didn't give y'all.
No, give it to him.
Y'all wanna give, oh, because you're 2 ahead now.
I don't, no, even before that. I got
okay. Okay.
I know. Didn't,
Just
okay.
try to take us.
Like,
Right, I see your point. I was trying to.
I'm supporting y'all. Get that point.
oh,
Yes,
oh,
thank
I
you.
see.
The
It's
only one y'all
applied
gonna get, so
now.
get it.
All right, next question. What was the Freedmen's Bureau? Okay.
All right, that was the bureau that essentially integrated black people into American society. It helped to get HBCUs. It helped to basically, with education, the Rosenwald schools, and so many other things that integrated black people into American society.
Get it.
Awesome. It also helped to provide food, shelter, clothing, medical services. So it was really where we started to integrate. Correct. Let's give it up for the red team. Yeah. I guess you guys are not. There's no camaraderie in here, right?
Like, I literally just taught this lesson. Come on, let's do this.
The lecture notes are still
I don't know if this is fair. All right,
see
let's
the
go.
slides.
Looks like I'm on the right team.
Literally a history teacher.
All right, I
I'm
believe
not
in y'all.
a
Come on, Blue.
historian. I'm
Come on.
poli sci. I'm
Come on,
sorry.
Blue. I believe in you, Blue Team. Stop playing.
I believe in
you got this. All right.
I'd love to play.
All right. Next question. How did ending Reconstruction affect African Americans?
Well, that's the beginning of Jim Crow.
Okay.
So immediately after you lose Reconstruction, you have the Vagrancy Acts passed. You have all these different rules that basically say if you don't have a job, you're a criminal and you have to go back into jail, which means you're going to be re-enslaved to do labor and things like that.
I promise I didn't pick the history African history on purpose. I promise, guys. It was not that. It was. Not, I sent everybody.
Should I sit the next one's out?
I was
Okay.
gonna say, we should
Nah,
review all the
answer it,
questions
answer
That is correct.
beforehand.
Following Reconstruction, the Southern state government systematically stripped African Americans of their basic political and civil rights. Literacy tests, many freedmen lacking formal education could not pass these reading and writing tests, and as a result, they were barred from voting. Good job. Next question. What are some results of ending Reconstruction that affected African Americans for over the next 100 years?
They couldn't vote. That's number one. They didn't have
Okay.
equal rights or civil rights. They were really separate but equal facilities. That's all I got. Those are the only two I know of.
They could vote, so that's not correct. But the separate facilities are. They could, because the 15th Amendment
But
was
if
passed
they
in
did vote, then
1870.
wouldn't they shoot them?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
so let's say
you can vote. but-
technically they had the right to vote, but theoretically and practically they didn't, and they couldn't because they had. Yeah, you're right. So
Practically they couldn't, right.
talk to
Shoot
me,
them off.
producer.
Right.
De facto non-voting.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I didn't hear you much your thing. Oh, y'all just gonna start answering questions out. Okay.
De facto non-voting.
I'll give y'all one point each. Y'all rock that because you kind of
I'll
got
take it.
that right, but Okay.
Everybody else
producer,
is like stepping back.
help.
You know,
right?
I was just
Producer.
reiterating. I didn't-
One each. There we go. Very nice. Good job, guys.
Shout out to
Good
the
job.
producer.
Shout out to the producer. Right? All right. Thank you very much. Next question. What president promoted the 1877 Compromise?
I'm not a history buff at all.
It's the end of Reconstruction. I'm throwing some hints in there. It's the very end. She might have mentioned it earlier on.
is it Rutherford?
Yes, Rutherford B. Hayes.
I mean,
I think I gave a hint to that, right?
She
Producer,
did,
half
yeah.
a point each,
Yeah.
right? It's I mean,
point each. What?
He's throwing him
I
out
mean, 'cause
now.
I helped him out. I mean, I'm not supposed to help you out. I said you might have
But
mentioned
they didn't get it either.
I feel
They
like-
still
Go
weren't
ahead, talk. Come on,
I was
fight.
gonna say I feel
Fight.
like we don't need the
Fight,
point.
fight,
We
fight.
didn't do anything.
You don't got. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
let's
We
be
just say
fair.
we just say absolutely
She's like,
nothing.
okay.
Sorry.
All right, she's like, I got this, right? Next question. Good job, guys. What did President Andrew Johnson, he was the president from 1865 to 1869 during Reconstruction that allowed the South to promote slavery even after it was abolished? I think I asked the question and I didn't answer.
I didn't hear
Yeah.
the
I didn't.
I was like, where's the question?
Sorry. Yeah.
Just very informative.
Party foul, right? So,
Yeah.
what did Andrew Johnson do during Reconstruction that allowed the South to promote slavery even after it was abolished? What did he do? Okay.
Institute sharecropping.
Mm-hmm. Okay. He created he allowed the southern states to go back to doing sharecropping, allowed them to put the other slaves back into. So yes, great job, red team, or blue team. Sorry. She did say you didn't need. You said you didn't need no help. You need no extra points up in here.
I've made one answer. I don't know. We'll see about that.
Good job, guys. Good job, both teams. All right, next. What are the definitions of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment? Okay. And you have to get all three right. Or the other
Yeah,
team.
I was
gonna say,
do I no, wait, hold up.
Listen closely.
Hold up.
Blue team.
Wait, if
you'll
I
catch
get
it.
2 out of the 3, do I get 1 point? And they get,
Producer,
or how
I'm
does this
listening.
work?
Producer?
You got to let her answer.
The whole question. I think
All
the whole.
right, so
Okay,
the
go ahead.
13th is what basically ends slavery unless you committed a felony.
Mm-hmm.
The 14th is what gives citizenship to anyone who was born in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. All right, and the 15th gives the right to vote to Black men.
Yes. I thought that would be a problem for you since you didn't really get the personal right to vote and we did, but I'm glad you had our back though. Thank you.
I mean, but you got killed.
Damn.
2 votes.
Damn. Right?
So you got that.
we got that for right
And
now.
it's cool because white women got it before you, for real, in 1920.
1920.
Yeah.
Let's talk. All right, very good. So that's good. Let's give it up for the red team. Congratulations, good job, guys. And we got a little lesson here. Thank you. Right. Hey.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
All right. That is actually
I was thinking the same thing.
that is actually the end of the game, guys. Thank you very much. Good job.
Press the buzzer
So let's
anyway.
give it
just
all
so-
up to the red team. You guys have won. But I think
We all pressed it once.
I know.
I think we have gift cards for you guys at the end of the show. We'll give you guys, I think, to help with the
Some
gas
reparations.
and the rising
I know.
cost of
Yes.
inflation, right? All right, let's get into the discussion. Let's get into the meat of it. So now I think we
Okay.
had the intro. We had some fun games. Now we about to talk our stuff, right? So Reconstruction, I want to start there, lasted from 1865 to 1877. And then I want to discuss in the contract with Black America, Ice Cube spoke about neo-Reconstruction, where he discussed reparations and voting. So during the time of Reconstruction, so 1865, when Lincoln was assassinated, I think 4 months after he was inaugurated in April. But during the Gettysburg Address, which was his speech, he really started talking about or hinting toward the Southern states giving freed African Americans the right to vote, which I believe is, because 4 days after he was assassinated, which I believe is why he was assassinated. But Andrew Johnson he was the vice president. He was also, and historian, please help, correct me if I'm wrong. He was also a Southerner. And I think strategically Lincoln put him on the ticket to make sure the seceding Southern states would go along with Reconstruction, would go along. After the Civil War, they lost the Civil War. Now it started the period where we were reintegrating the succeeding Southern states We had 4 million freed African Americans, and now what do we do? So it was this period where we began to build this infrastructure to support these free slaves, and also this infrastructure to reintegrate the Southern states back into the Union. So during this time is when, and this is really critical when we talk about African Americans voting, right, and our rights in during that time. We do know they were Republicans, right? We do know that when we received the right to vote, when they passed the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, it was because they were Republicans. I just want to say that to all the Democrats. And not that that means anything.
Not the same Republicans today, though.
Okay, but not the same Republicans today. And that's a really good point, because I figured during this period of Reconstruction, let's talk about it, right? We had, first it was Lincoln. When he was assassinated, I think we had, after it was Andrew Johnson, and then Ulysses S. Grant, and then Rutherford B. Hayes. That was the 4 presidents we had during the entire 12 years of Reconstruction. Now, Lincoln was a Republican that, let's talk about him. I don't know if he necessarily was all on board for advocating the freedom of slaves, but he was running on that ticket. And I think there were abolitionists and there were other radical Republicans that were advocating in the North for that. And he was a great candidate to put on that ticket to advocate that. But I don't think everyone, and I know everyone hadn't bought in during that time, but we had started to, get into politics. We began to vote. We began to get our own, educational systems are starting to build us integrating back into society. But when Andrew Johnson became president, when Lincoln was assassinated, that was kind of, for me, the start of rolling back all of the efforts we had made. What are your thoughts about that? You guys familiar with Andrew Johnson and the start of that period? But if not, I feel really during this time is where, when Reconstruction ended in 1877 until like 1965, where we got the Voting Rights Act and Civil Rights Act, for like 100 years, this is where I feel it rolled back all or any gains we had made during that 12 years of Reconstruction that didn't really finish, right? So I think today, that 100 years of being disjointed, disconnected, disenfranchised, marginalized, specifically in the South, to your point, you were talking about vagrancy, code laws. So let's talk a little bit about that. What do you understand happened when we started to do Reconstruction? Do you guys remember about the black codes? What do you know about black codes? Anyone? What were they? Jump in.
Truly not enough. I don't know enough.
Okay. Anybody say it? Yeah.
That's not my strength either.
Okay. So codes, black codes, where but you mentioned it though. During that time,
like the vagrancy, or like
kind of. So Andrew Johnson was an advocate of the South, right? So he was always thinking for himself. When Lincoln died, he had a different idea of Reconstruction. He wanted the Union to connect, but he was allowing them to do what they do. So since the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment had been passed, right? Abolished slavery, citizenship, black men right to vote. They then took those laws and then made subcategories of laws that made it difficult. Even though those amendments to the Constitution were passed, this continued to disenfranchise. So black codes were one of them. A code was then made in the South that says, okay, if a black wants to vote, he needs to be literate. He needs to have land. He needs to have a job.
His grandfather had to vote.
And his grandfather had to vote. There were all these clauses or policies put in that then said, okay, and the Southern states were doing it. So this is why we had to make amendments, right, to the Constitution, because you wouldn't have to amend a law, right? It says that every man should be free and have the right. But we weren't categorized as people. We were 3/5 of a person, right? 3/5 law was also a compromise in the Constitution to allow the Southern states to have representation in Congress, right? So they had, because to have representation in your state, you have to have it based upon population, right? So you got 4 million free blacks that are not counted. Southern states weren't getting represented. So they said, We'll not give them whole full humanism or be a whole human. We'll call them 3/5. So what 3/5 of whatever population of slaves that the southern states own then equated to representation in their Congress, right? So that's how we got that 3/5 compromise that was brought in there. Black codes, vagrancy laws where you couldn't be in the street walking around when they came up to you and asked you. You had to have one, I have a job, I know I have a home, I know where to stay. If not, they would then actually send you to jail. And have you heard of convict leasing? Anybody knows about convict leasing?
Yeah.
Anybody talk to me about convict leasing? What do you know about convict leasing?
Basically, they you get arrested. And then they go to a plantation, and that plantation owner is like, "Yo, I need this number of, can I say the N-word?
Yeah, go ahead.
This number of niggas. I need these niggas right here on this field right here." And basically, you just kind of get this agreement working with the sheriff and the community, to the point where they just kidnap people.
Right. So in essence, that really kind of reinstituted slavery, right? Exactly. So you break the law. You'll go to jail. They would lease you back out to the plantation that you initially were freed from, right? Right. And then you would do your term there or whatever that looked like, which could be for 20, 30 years for small, insignificant crimes. To me, this was the start during that time period of having systemic racism built into our system, our governmental system, our political system, because those slave owners, they turned into the sheriffs. They turned into the judges. They turned into the people then who were enacting the laws, who were purporting the laws. So this is where when people don't talk about systemic racism, I think they don't understand that during that time, during Reconstruction from 1865 to 1877, even though we had the Emancipation Proclamation signed in 1865, that we had the southern states that started to enact things like black codes, vagrancy laws, convict leasing, which in essence re-enslaved the free black people in the southern states. Although the Constitution had amendments to it advocating for our rights, right? Even the 15th Amendment in 1870 that gave black men the right to vote still didn't give women a right to vote. Women wouldn't get the right to vote for another 50 years. The 19th Amendment gave you guys the right to vote in like 1920.
White women.
White women doing the suffrage movement, right?
I'm not white.
Okay.
White women.
Right. Slowly integrating after that period, then black women getting the right to vote, but white women at that time during the suffrage movement, but still, that thought process is that men ran shit then, like in every aspect of the word, of the word, even with white women. So they had specific roles during that time period, which I think just spoke to a lot of the European ideology being brought over, and a lot of the British colonists kind of adopting some of those things, but not accepting others. So that black codes, vagrancy laws, convict leasing, for those, that time period, I think really, in a sense, even though the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, in a sense, re-enslaved black mentality, re-enslaved our political landscape. And I think as we grow older, we become more disenfranchised with our interaction with the system. So I want to ask a question to our team in regards to this. Today, how do you personally feel your importance is valued in terms of your representation in society? Just general blanket, and then I'm gonna get more specific. Let's start with you, Indigo. Is your importance valued politically, economically, socially? And if not, why?
Like as a black woman?
As a black woman.
Oh, not at all. Okay. I mean, like, no one...
You want to think about it first before you just jump right?
No. Thought about it much too much.
Okay.
Like you said, we're not white women. First, we live in a patriarchal society. Okay. So, I'm a woman. No one cares what I have to say. Like, if we look
at
it...
That's not true. Well, Chris, we care, right?
You personally might talk about it. I mean, you personally might care, or whatever that looks like for you. But as a society, literally no one cares what I have to say, and that has been echoed time and time again, across my life. I'm not hella old. I'm only 21, but it is a message I've gotten very clearly. I don't think that there's a value of my importance. I have a lot of knowledge. I have a very unique experience of the intersectionality of being a woman and as well as a black person, and experiencing that dual oppression and suppression of my voice, movement throughout society, my independence, there's not a lot of infrastructure for us to like survive and thrive, and I don't see a lot of space made for that. Like personally, I work very hard to like make myself an exception, which I'm not an exception, but in society's eyes, I'm an exception. I work very hard to like reach goals and make it so that people can't look at me and be like, oh, I can dismiss you because XYZ, because I have all these other things that society claims that I need as accolades in order to deserve someone's respect. And in that way, like seeing any random white man who could do literally anything, like the people who I go to school with, it's it's unbelievable to see the very, very privileged white men at UCLA who do what they want and do as they can and as they please, and then have like life set up for them afterwards. And society puts them on a pedestal. They have a space wherever they need to be. Like, you can go anywhere in the world and talk to a white man and just have like the most bizarre conversation of like, you really don't see the privilege you have. You don't see that the world has been built as the foundation. Like, you are the foundation of the world. And that's really what the point is. Whereas like, I'm the complete opposite of a white man. And that means that like, there's nothing out there for me. The world is not set up for me. If we even look at abortion rights, like white women will be fine. Rich white women will be fine. Black women, poor Black women, women of color in general, like we are not considered in this at all, and we don't have the resources for it. And so in that way, I don't think that the importance of like, no one values my importance as a general, state of the country.
Thank you very much, Indigo. I appreciate that.
Thank you for
Brooke,
listening.
you next. Stop playing. Talk to me.
my
Do we
question
value? Do we
know.
value? Do you feel the society? What is your value in society? Politically, socially, economically? Is it being looked at? Is it being championed?
No.
Okay.
I feel like that's a full sentence.
Okay.
No.
Yes.
Period. Right.
Exclamation mark.
Exclamation point. Right.
No. I don't think so. Not at all. I think that I feel like being a Black person in LA, I feel like we are like hanging on by a thread. And every time I look to my left and look to my right, I see less and less Black people around me, which lets me know that our Black political footprint is also getting smaller and smaller.
Okay.
And then I think too, the fact that we have so many, how do I say this nicely? Older Black politicians that are holding on for dear life.
What were you gonna say? I don't know where were we going with this,
like,
right?
ooh.
Old, wrinkly Black.
No. People who should just let go, basically. I think
No,
they,
agreed.
like,
We're gonna talk about that. That's a really good point. Go ahead.
I think so. I feel like no, because I feel like they are kind of making a joke and a mockery of us in society in a way. And so that we're losing even more respect and even more power. And then if you think about gerrymandering and in certain, you talked about earlier, you said something about just like southern states and voting in southern states. And it's like, if you look at those voting in southern states, like they're set up to where if you're a moderate white Democrat, you'll never win.
Right.
And they only have certain pockets where black people can win.
Right.
So it's just very interesting how it's already carved and set up. Like, how are we going to work our way out of the system when it's set up for us to be so bound and locked in and have nothing essentially, while we just watch everybody else grow and get wonderful things, while we're just like left on side, like, oh damn, that's so nice.
Yeah.
I wanted that stuff too, but we can't get to it.
Hence why we need a cohesive, collective, national Black agenda. But go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted
That
you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So Leah, same question, but I want to add a twist to yours. Is it a generational thing?
Is what
Is it a generational thing that women are, or you as an individual, as a Black woman, are not respected or not championed socially, politically, and economically?
You mean like, is it a generational thing as in like, is it like a pattern that keeps happening? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, or either, is it unique to Gen Z, is it unique to Gen X, or has it always been happening through,
I think it's an always thing. I don't think
Okay.
it has to do with like specific generations. You guys had very good answers. That was a lot to put.
to digest?
Yeah,
or-
but I want to piggyback on a couple of these you guys said. Indigo, you said like it's one thing to be a black person, and it's another thing to be a Black woman. And I feel like that's really too like you said, it's a complete opposite of a white man. So I feel like that is just definitely like just not represented in a way that should be, if that makes sense. And
It
then
does.
also your point to say like how every day you look around, it's less and less Black people, and that has a lot to do with gentrification too. And I remember when I first learned about gentrification, I noticed it first back home in Oakland, and I didn't know like I at first in that moment I was like, oh, like this is just happening in Oakland. Then I moved to LA and I was like, whoa, it's happening in LA. And then I talked to other people and I'm like, it's happening everywhere. Like, this is a thing. And it threw me off because like I'll visit home in Oakland. I'm like, whoa, like this is like crazy. Like this is not right. Like this is crazy. And immediately I've been to LA for like 2 years and like I'm even noticing it out here. Like I'm not even from here and I'm just seeing like certain areas and like people, how everyone has to move out, like in the outer cities, if that makes sense. Like it's kind of like that out here. It seems like I'm not familiar with like LA that much, but I can still kind of see a pattern of like just everyone kind of having to move out, and it's just like
gentrification.
Right.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you, Chris. Talk to me. Do you feel as a black man, right? Are you appreciated, championed politically, economically, socially?
Well, not at all, but I think we do have value. I think we're looked at as like a more of a commodity. Like we do have like some type of buying power. We do have a lot of influence as far as, you know, like let's say a rapper, what he says on TV, it does show when you look to the younger people who are, you know, listening to these things, they definitely their opinion and the words that come out their mouths definitely plays a big role. So I do say that we do have value. Now when it comes to politically, they just want the votes. So they're gonna say whatever they're gonna say to get our votes. So I mean, but when it comes to personally, I don't think that they value us personally at all. I mean, we're just looked at as a like I said as a commodity to be consumed.
Yeah, so thank you, Chris. Go ahead. You were saying, so I wanted to ask you, is any of that our fault? Why are we having a lot of absentee fathers? Why are there lots of single mothers? Like, why do we kill each other? So what is our responsibility to that piece? Say it is systemic racism, but there's also problems in our own family structure, in our own development. What do we do about that? How do we tackle that? Hey, my woke folk, we're done with the first part of the National Black Agenda. Part 1, Black Politics. Wasn't it great to hear all the youth discuss Reconstruction, Neo-Reconstruction, reparations, and voting? Let's go. If you like this National Black Agenda, Black Politics Part 1, you ain't seen shit yet, subscribe to my podcast, Stay Woke Podcast. Pharaoh Musa, that's me. Holla.